Today I am prepping Emily's Model Y for 3D scanning. I've made it a habit to completely digitize every car that we're making a full catalog of parts for. And this will mainly concern all of the suspension parts. We can model the entire suspension geometry in the computer and make sure that when we change the ride height and we add super steering angle to the car, we can make sure that there's no interference through full suspension and steering travels. Now, the spray powder that you see here on the body is mainly being focused on all of the parting lines, and that's because the laser scanner can see pretty well on big surfaces where the scanner is perpendicular to the car. However, it does a pretty bad job of seeing around corners. So because the parting lines are so hard to pick up, the spray powder actually helps pick up what it can't see. Now, this is actually dry shampoo, and the reason for it is that you can get it anywhere in short notice, and it washes off pretty easily. Now, just before the actual scan session, this particular scanner, which is from Creaform, requires some adhesive targets on the car. So the scanner has to see at least 3 of those for tracking, and you might notice that we have some scale bars on the floor, which really helps to improve the accuracy on a very large scan. So I'm taking my time going around the car, getting all the details. And while I'm digitizing this car, I'm thinking about the fact that it's got a bigger SUV style body compared to the Model 3. And I'm particularly interested in the plastics around the wheel arch, because the wheel openings, the arches, are bigger in this car than the Model 3, even though it really shares most of the same underpinnings. So once I get the digitized body in the computer, then I can explore some ideas that I have about maybe changing the radius of the wheel openings, and maybe even doing that in a bolt-on way that doesn't require paint, because those black plastics basically dictate the wheel gap. So we'll see what happens a little bit later. We've got some exterior parts modeling and manufacturing abilities coming online at Max USA. So I'll see if there's any future for kind of improving the styling of the Model Y. This is the Creaform software that came with my HandyScan Max Elite. And so I'm taking a closer look, making sure that the scanner did a good job. You can see that there's some incomplete scan areas that are highlighted in yellow. So I'm just checking all the details, especially those edges that I prepped for, before I continue to scan. So one thing about the HandyScan Max is that it is excellent at collecting a really huge amount of data. Depending on the mode, you can capture up to something like a meter or 1.5 squared area of the car. That requires some larger targets. These are the 6mm targets, and if you really wanted to stand back farther away and acquire the data much faster, then you'd have to use their 12mm targets. But I'm interested in getting as much fine detail as possible, especially in the panel gaps, as I mentioned. So I'm just taking my time, and I'm using those 6mm highly reflective targets. So my previous scanner was a Ferro design scan arm, And that particular scanner just had one laser line, and it's about 6 inches wide. So I have to paint that single laser line back and forth across the surface of the car. And this one has a giant scanning area with 36 lasers, so it's actually quite a bit faster, which is a relief. And because it's a handheld and it's not on a tripod like the Pharaoh, then I'm doing a lot less scan yoga by putting myself in all kinds of different positions to get the car on top, on the side, and even on the bottom. So this one's pretty nice for that. So once we get all this scan data in the computer, then I'll clean the scan up by erasing the ground and those scale bars. And here you can see the complete scan data. I've got the windows and all the black plastics cut out. You can see that I've scanned up inside the wheel wells, and all those suspension pieces are both scanned in place, and they're also removed so that I can get a 360-degree scan of the top, bottom, sides, everything on those individual suspension pieces. And I've even got the under arrow scanned. So right here I'm looking to check if our rocker rail sliders that I've already made for the Model 3 will work on the Model Y. The Model 3 actually has a little bit more metal extending into the wheel well areas. As I said, that the Y has bigger arches. So because the 3 has smaller arches, the rocker rail sliders would kind of like extend just into the bottom area of the wheel well opening, so that might have to get trimmed a little bit, but I'll be able to see that very clearly once I overlay those aftermarket parts with this body and suspension scan data. And I've got some wheels scanned in there so that we can kind of get some idea of the styling and maybe the wheel and tire selection as far as width and diameter that'll look good on this car. This one-piece casting in the back of the car is actually amazing. That helps them with manufacturing efficiency, getting rid of a bunch of spot welded steel plates in the back. And I even went so far as to scanning the interior and the center console for a handbrake. The handbrake is an absolutely essential item on the drift course, so stay tuned for that and many more things to come in this Model Y build series.